But I think that you have to trust the pilot of the plane in the first place. And the problem right now is that Donald Trump is not a trustworthy pilot. And what these guys are winning, they're winning the babysitter contest. Who do you want? Whose values do you want to be in charge of the plane before we get where we're going? And I think you're getting smoked on that. And I think that's how do you see it?
My brother.
Yes.
My brother. I have to tell you.
Please.
The current pilot of the plane is Kamala Harris. Donald Trump is not the pilot of the plane.
No,
he's right here.
She's the vice president. She's a co-pilot. She's a co-pilot.
Nobody tonight said a damn thing. They want you to vote for a ticket based on absolutely no concrete idea about what they would do once they get in office. You said he got more progressive when he got elected governor. So you're saying every time he gets another office, he gets more and more progressive. I think that's exactly what would happen. Tonight, you did hear people say, well, we may not agree with them on everything, but at least it'll be joyful as they tax us into oblivion. I think the idea that you could run an entire presidential campaign based on the idea of vote for me to find out what's in it.
Wait a minute, Scott,
every American.
Scott, your candidate has done that his entire political career. I mean, Donald Trump does not talk about any policy issue.
Sure he does.
He's going to lower inflation. He's going to eliminate inflation. Excuse me. That's on day one. He's going to take away Obamacare on day one. I mean,
he's going to be tougher on immigration.
Your argument. I understand your argument, but it doesn't. Given the candidate who you are backing, it rings a little hollow because there is no flesh on the bone of anything he's talking about.
I'm the only person who doesn't sign up to work for candidates, okay? Like, I work for CNN. I'm here to analyze the news. That's number one. Number two, I think what they are telegraphing to the American people is, we know if we told you what we were going to do, it would be monumentally unpopular. Also on walls.
I see it differently, but go ahead.
He's been
All right, guys, so we got to talk about the DNC because as this convention comes to a close, it is getting absolutely roasted by anybody with two brain cells to rub together and that actually cares about policy, because if that is you, okay, then the DNC has been an absolute disaster because we've learned nothing about what the Democrats plan to do to make the country better. What we've heard this entire convention was abortion, slogan / buzzword that doesn't really mean anything. Orange man bad, orange man evil. And that has been rinse and repeat every few hours or so, okay? And it has resulted in the smart money, right, saying that, hey, you know what? I'm not necessarily sure if this is benefiting Kamala Harris and Democrats, as Trump's chances of winning the election have went up in the bettors market as the DNC has dragged on. I mean, nobody really should be surprised, okay, because they came into this thing with no policy platform for Kamala Harris. In fact, their policy platform still had mentions of what Joe Biden is going to do in his second term.
But let's talk about the important week that we are having right now with my political experts. David Chalian, President Biden dropped out of the race a month and a day ago. You wouldn't know that if you read the Democratic platform because it repeatedly refers to President Biden's second term. There are roughly 19 or 20 mentions of President Biden's second term. They've had a month and a day to update it. Why haven't they?
Yeah, there won't be one of those, Biden's second term. We know that. And, listen, the platform was largely the draft of it put in place and voted on earlier this summer. And I think in talking to some folks, the idea of reopening the platform to try to fit in not yet fully developed Kamala Harris policies while they were quickly changing, they thought they would be opening a can of worms, right? And that there would be all of a sudden some fights about what goes in the platform, and they wanted to avoid that at all costs. So they're willing to take the hit on the fact that the platform is sort of a relic of the Biden era because it's a non-binding thing. They'll vote officially today as part of the party business to put it into effect. But as you know, it has no binding capacity to it.
Right. And we should note that this also allows Vice President Harris to stay vague, stay, unspecific. That's from the Biden platform. That's not ours.
Yeah, so they're doing this in order to have Kamala Harris remain as vague as possible. Now, all indications point to This woman being an absolute radical leftist, especially when it comes to economic policy. I mean, what she has put out there has been absolutely ridiculed and mocked. It's been so bad, right? Price controls that even the mainstream liberal media, okay, they're humiliating Democrats who come on their networks and try to peddle price controls as if it's a good idea based off this conspiracy theory, the big lie that there is corporate price gouging as the cause of inflation, which again is so much gaslighting because they're trying to distract from the fact that Biden's economic policy, Kamala's economic policies are the main drivers of the inflation that we're seeing right now. And they're trying to deflect with conspiracies and lies that are so insane that even the mainstream liberal media is just not having any of it when it comes to this type of gaslighting that Democrats are doing.
First of all, on the talking about competition and standing up against price gouging is something that reaches out, I believe, to everybody. We saw very tough years with after the pandemic with supply chain issues. But she didn't talk about. She was very clear about that. There's a huge difference between talking about competition and making sure that we address anti-competitive behavior and price controls, which obviously
the price margins are only 1-2%.
And Josh, you know that's not what caused the inflation. So, and for you to say it with a straight face, just it doesn't help your cause at all. You know.
But Joe, talking about as a capitalist, I believe in competition and making sure that there's actual competition. You got states.
Why didn't the corporations raise? Why didn't the corporations gouge for 40 years? If that's what caused it, how did it suddenly happen? They learned how to gouge 3.5 years ago, and it went to 40-year highs on inflation. And when you talk about unifying, being where you are, you may be unifying intra-DNC, but I can guarantee you that what we're seeing in policies coming out are not unifying policies. And you must know that in terms of the populist.
But Joe,
they're not unifying to me. They're very divisive.
Well, I think we'd all agree that the other side has been clear about burning down the house and taking a much more extreme perspective. That's all I'm saying.
No, we can't all agree. I don't think we're going to have to agree to disagree, because I don't agree. But I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm just making the point that I think standing up to anti-competitive behavior
starts with we can all agree. Every statement begins with we can all agree.
Okay.
No, we can't. No, we can't. That sounds like.
Okay, I'll say.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I'm saying my perspective, if that's better.
Yeah, that is bad. Okay, that is really, really, really bad when you are a Democrat on CNBC and the host is saying, no, we cannot agree that the other side, aka Republicans, are much worse when it comes to their economic policy, because that is essentially what this Democrat was trying to say, right? He was trying to deflect to Trump because he could not defend the lunacy that is Kamala's economic policy. So in order to try to deflect, this guy says, well, we can all agree that when it comes to the other side, though, and the dude just was like, nah, right? No, we cannot agree. No, I cannot agree with you, okay? I just want to let you know I do not agree with this, okay? Don't throw my name in anything having to do with this type of economic policy. That's how embarrassing that it is, okay? They're like, no. Don't say we can agree on anything, right? We agree on nothing, okay? Because what you're talking right now is foolishness. And what these people are saying is so foolish, right? That not every legacy media anchor is just going to sit there and be polite about being gaslit, right, on television. No. Some people, like Neil Cavuto, for example, blow a gasket over the gaslighting, because at some point you really are insulting people's intelligence with this nonsense coming from Democrats and Kamala's propagandists.
In her economic speech as well is letting people know, I will not hesitate to take on a major corporate interest that is taking advantage of you and exploiting prices during a crisis.
That is not
Nor
happening.
are you afraid to take
that's
on
not happening with the food
prescription drugs
I get the
to
prescription
help lower
drug
prices,
but Gene,
to have
please,
the negotiations that brought
to blame
down
it on
insulin
food companies,
to $35.
I know, Gene, but on the food thing, you know it's a silly
Neil,
argument. You just know it's wrong, right?
Neil,
when the Washington Post says it's gimmicky, when the New York Times says it's unrealistic, do you think that's wise for her to do tonight?
Neil, Thank you, but you just made up stuff. You didn't listen to the words she said. What she said in that speech was, first, I will work with business to work for top American goals like affordable housing. She announced a new tax cut.
No, she
for
talked
builders
about price gouging, Gene. That's what I'm talking about.
Neil,
She's saying, Gene, please just answer my question. She's talking about price gouging. I understand the other stuff you mentioned.
Neil,
do you really think food companies are price?
Neil, we just heard.
Do you think food
Donald
companies
Trump
are price gouging? Gene, I'm not lying to you.
Neil,
do you think price gouging is going on?
I do think, Neil, I do think that there are nefarious actors in crisis who have taken advantage of things, and I think it is worth looking at the nefarious actors, as she has done as Attorney General.
So when bacon goes up 20%, when bacon goes up 20%,
prices, who have ripped people off on grocery prices, she is going to be the champion of middle class, and she is going to take them on.
But
and
Gene,
I'm going to talk about what she said and what she proposed,
do you take any blame,
Neil,
Gene,
how what you are claiming.
Gina, I love you dearly, but it's a simple question. I have no agenda here. The right and the left, they both hate me. So let's settle that. Let me ask you this. Is it possible that this administration should take some blame for the double-digit run-up in food prices alone? Any blame at all? Do you accept any blame? Should she accept any blame for that?
No, I think overwhelmingly what people are seeing is that the United States got through the recovery with greater jobs, greater growth. The global inflation that you talk about happened everywhere in the world, and the United States is one of the places where it's coming down. If you look at what the Federal Reserve looks at, which is the PCE, it's already been down to 2.5. Now the regular inflation is 2.9. So yes, I do think that most of this is a once in 5 generations or 10 generations pandemic that shut down the global economy, that created supply chains and stoppage and many things, and that what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris did is make sure American families and small businesses and child care centers and the middle class generally was able to get through that crisis, but also have a strong recovery where they had a little bit of cushion.
And you're right, inflation has come down dramatically from those high levels in 2022. But when it did go up and it did spike double digits and food prices rose to the degree they did, do you think your spending had anything at all to do with that? Anything at all?
I do not think it was a significant factor.
With that being said, that type of crony capitalism when it comes to price gouging definitely is not happening. But the type of crony capitalism that we should be addressing is existent at the DNC. And for whatever reason, Democrats aren't really saying anything about it, except Chris Cuomo for News Nation actually pointed it out in probably one of the most based segments that I've ever heard from Chris Cuomo, in which he tells the truth about the Democrat Party, the party that claims that they are fighting on behalf of the working class, when that's not really the case in regards to who's pulling the strings for this party. Take a look.
A big theme here at the DNC is that they're going to go after corporate gouging, and they're going to go after corporations, whether it's in taxes, largesse, loopholes. The RNC, we heard the same thing. They're going after the elites, the 2 sets of rules. Let me reveal a reality to you that has to be spoken to here, okay? These are the soldiers. These are the men and the women that go back to their constituencies and their communities, and they fight. They take time from their jobs. They take time from their families. Republicans and Democrats alike, that's what they do. They need to charge these people up. They need to be able to get them on board. But there's another reality that is literally looking down on them. Greg, look at the ring of sweets, okay? This is not unique to Democrats. There is a game of money. When people talk about uniparty, we are strangled by the money reality in our politics. Those suites start at 500 grand. You think there's like a teacher group up in there? You think it's like the Cub Scouts of Columbia County, South Carolina, that's up in those boxes? Some of them are lobbies and good things. The media boxes, you think they're free? Why do you think I'm on the floor? News Nation is not a broke company. Nexstar is a massive organization. We are corporate media. We don't have one of those boxes because that's the game. You pay to play. Those boxes are filled with the same people that they say they're going to regulate. They are literally looking down on the faithful and being told, yeah, we're going to break down on them. we're going to make them pay their share. They paid $500, $700, $1 million, $1.5 million to have those seats. They get hotel suites that are probably gifted to the party. And the same thing is true with the Republican side. And they're going to take them down. They're going to change how it is. They are looking down from on high at the people who make the difference in their communities. And that is the reality of politics. And I had my producer walk around and show you those suites. Now, they're not all the same. They're not all the same. But the reality is, in 2000, they spent $300 million on presidential campaigns. 24 years later, you know what they're expected to spend? $10 billion. Do you know how much money Harris has raised in the last couple of weeks? Hundreds of millions. And that's success. A lot of it's small donor, a lot of it isn't. The most dangerous money in politics is now legal money because of Citizens United. You've got to know this. The idea that they can fight against it is almost laughable. It's almost laughable. So look and listen when you are told these things. Because I don't care what they promise you. Not here tonight, not at the RNC, not that Trump knows them, not that they don't own them. He did one of the biggest fundraisers I've ever heard of in my life out where I live. Millions of dollars a plate. That's the reality of politics.
Yes, I can't lie to you guys. Chris Cuomo was on point. He's right. For as much as the Democrats want to pretend as if they are a party for the working people, okay, they are bought and sold by special interests. Now, again, it's just funny because they are trying to allegedly fight crony capitalism where it doesn't really exist, right, in regards to price gouging. And they do this in order to make you believe that, hey, we're trying to fight on behalf of the people, okay, and that we're trying to help you. When that's just certainly not the case, okay? Their proposals, the massive spending that Kamala Harris will do, will definitely benefit the rich, okay? Because who's gotten richer under the Biden administration? Definitely hasn't been the middle class, hasn't been the poor, it's been the rich, right? The wealthiest people in this country, if you look at the stock market, it has been doing pretty well under the Biden administration. But the average everyday worker has not been doing well, okay? Their wages have not kept up with inflation. Inflation, because you have asset inflation, rich people own assets generally, they benefit from inflation, right? So spending another $1.7 trillion, corporate America would love that, okay? They would absolutely love it, right? The people that benefited the most from the extravagant spending of the Democrats was not the people, it was the big mega corporations, right? Big mega corporations love corporate socialism, which is what Democrats are all about, right? They're all about corporate socialism, okay? And this type of corporate socialism is what drives the Democrat Party in their policies. And they try to pretend as if, again, they're fighting on behalf of the people by spending all this money that ultimately will be paid for by the American people in the form of inflation. That's what's happening right now because they never actually get around to doing that thing that they claim that they're going to do, which is to tax the rich, right? They never get around to it, okay? They never get around to it for whatever reason. Even though they claim they're going to do it, they never actually get around to it. But they do end up taxing people who are not rich, which again is inflation. And inflation affects the poorest among us the worst. So I think that Chris Cuomo is bringing up a very good point here and something that we don't talk about enough, which is the influence of money in politics, special interest groups, and how they affect the platforms of these parties. And in the case of the Democrats, we don't know what the platform really is, okay, because they're not really saying what they want to do. And the things that they are saying they want to do sound insane, okay, but best believe behind closed doors, those people who have bought and sold the Democrats, yeah, they know what the policies are of the Democrats and what they want to do, and best believe they do not benefit the people, right? They're not in the best interest of the people. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.